Hi, my name's Jo, and I'm going to be talking to you about this shirt that I'm wearing and the history and the stories that are connected to it. I'll stand up so you can see it. So it doesn't fit me perfectly because I made it for someone else as a present. And I've never really made that many clothes before, so it was like a big learning process to make the collar attachment and the buttonholes, and particularly this pocket, and kind of how to make that secure, and all the sleeves, and how to measure somebody and make all these different parts fit was really difficult, and I had to get a load of help from my family. So the exciting thing that I think is interesting about the shirt is that the fabric is about 63 years old, and it's from a factory called Tulketh, a cotton mill called Tulketh that's in Preston in Lancashire, and that's where my mother's side of my family are from, and where my grandpa still lives. And my grandpa and grandma spent most of their adult lives in working in different cotton mills in Preston, particularly in this big one called Tulketh. And my grandpa started off as just working in the factory as a kind of looking after a loom, which was usually a woman's job, and then he became a manager, and then he became the warehouse manager. So to begin with, he was just the manager of one room, and then he became the manager of a whole warehouse, and then he became something that's called a cloth looker, which is the person who inspects the fabric to make sure it's a really good quality weave and there aren't any, what are they called? Any discrepancies, I think they're called, which basically means that it can be really, really small. Like this shirt is made of some fabric that had some kind of problem, some discrepancy in it, and it basically means that one of these lines might be slightly thicker than all the rest, and that's not good enough. So my grandpa got to kind of take those big rolls of fabric home with him for my grandma to make clothes out of. And this shirt is made from some of that fabric. And I found it in their house when it was at a time when my grandma, she had dementia for a long time, and then it kind of got so bad that she had to go into a care home. So she was taken out of the house and put in a care home, and my grandpa stayed and still is living in his house in Preston. So there was lots of her stuff still around, and all this fabric, loads and loads of fabric from the mills that they used to work in, and it was just kind of there, suspended, and my grandpa couldn't sew or very well or make any clothes, so there was just nothing was going to happen with it. So I found it and I thought, wow, this is such nice fabric, and I should really make something out of it. So I set to work trying to make this shirt, because apparently it's shirt fabric and it's cotton, and it's a really high thread count, which is something that I didn't really know about before making the shirt. When I found it, I felt a bit funny because I didn't want to take this fabric from my grandma, even though I knew she wouldn't be able to use it. She couldn't really tell me what she would have thought about me taking it, so I felt a bit funny. But my grandpa was kind of adamant that it was absolutely fine to do that. And it came at a time when my grandma left and went into the care home. My grandpa started, I don't know if it was exactly that moment or just like around that kind of age. He was about 95 or 94 when she first went into this home. And he started talking quite a lot more about his history and the history of their relationship, and things about war and stuff that he never felt comfortable talking about before. And I don't know if it was because my grandma wasn't there, or just because he was getting older, that he just started talking about the past a lot more instead of talking about the future. I guess because he was so old that there wasn't going to be, he didn't really have much control over his future anymore. So he started talking a lot about his past, and I started getting this feeling like I had to, like, because he was talking about his past, I wanted to document what he was saying, because it was so exciting that he'd started talking about all this stuff, and I didn't want to forget what he was saying, and I guess I felt like he wasn't going to live for a great, because my grandma had just lost her memory and couldn't remember anything anymore. I was like, God, I have to remember what he's telling me. So I started getting this feeling like I wanted his history and my history to not be such separate things, like for it not to end with him and then my history start. I wanted his history to be kind of tied in with mine, and I didn't make this shirt because of that, but I feel like they're kind of tied in a way. Like I wanted to learn about his trade, and like why this fabric was such good quality, and also how to make clothes. Like my grandma was a great dressmaker, and I had no idea how to do any of this stuff, and I just kind of wanted to find out before it was too late about that kind of thing. And so I made the shirt, and I also, at the same time, I started doing kind of interviews with my grandpa and making little films about him with his permission. And I started making a project that's called 97 Years, which is the age of my grandpa now. And it's all these interviews that the audience come in and listen to what he says, but each bit of text is attached to a string, which is quite complicated. But basically, when you pull a string, his voice plays, and you can control how clear and how unclear that text is. So there's 15 lots of text and 15 strings. So at some points you can hear just one piece of his voice, one piece of like one story or one kind of part of this interview, and then at some points it will just be like a huge amount of noise. All the strings will be positioned pulled in a place that means that they're total kind of just noise made of his voice, and really, really unclear. So that kind of, I mean, you can read what you like from it, but for me it's kind of about just this aging and what's good about it and what's not, and what happens when you spend your whole life kind of collecting all these memories and learning all these skills, and then they start to fade out, and kind of just like the joys and the sorrows of aging, and kind of encouraging people to take time to try and listen and try and communicate and spend time with elderly people. Yeah. Let me think. I think that's all I have to say.